Welcome to my channel. I haven't been around for a little while. Sorry about that. On this episode, I'm going to talk about Gen-Xers. As being one, I do have some personal feelings about it. You always hear about us, coming in before the street lights come on, and how we drank from garden hoses and such things like that. And those are all true. I did it myself. But there's also some of us that lived out in small farming communities that we did things that we probably really shouldn't have done. For us, in my neck of the woods, we had this little field where there was a little pond. We'd all go out there and visit. We had a nice little road going out to it that our bikes created. We would sometimes build little tumbleweed forts and have dirt clog fights from there, or snowball fights depending upon the time of the season. But we'd all go to that pond. It was right next to the train tracks, so close that when the trains went by, besides feeling the ground shaking, the wind would kick up and sometimes pick dust up, and we'd have to close our eyes and kind of hold our breaths. Definitely something that the railroad itself today would never let us be near, and it was kind of dangerous most of the time. We also would put the pennies on the railroad tracks. That's typical kids anyways. But this pond that we all came in, we'd catch tadpoles in, we would sometimes splash each other with. More than a number of times we'd go to the local lake that we had and catch some bluegill, and we'd try to put them in there and see if they'd live. And I think we maybe got one, maybe two of them to live maybe a week or so before it disappeared. More than likely some cat got a hold of it, or a bird saw it and swooped down and got it, because this pond was only maybe a foot and a half deep at the deepest. But what makes this pond so unique for us, and why we shouldn't have been even playing it, is it came across from the field, the turf farm across the road, that the drainage went across the road, went underneath the train tracks through a little culvert that was really just two railroad ties with a couple boards on top of that to keep the water from clogging up underneath the train tracks, and it would just collect there. How many pesticides or fertilizers were in that water, who knows? But we would always go out there and just play around. There was one guy that he had a tractor, and he would go through it every once in a while, and he was kind of showing off to us, and he was plowing through it. And one day he ended up getting in trouble because his dad didn't realize what he was doing, and he got the tractor stuck in the middle of it. Didn't see that guy for a while after that. Then another thing that we used to do is the mountains behind my house, we'd go up there and climb them, and as we were climbing up, sometimes we'd start getting chased down by wild dogs and coyotes, and we would run from the top of the hill back down, just hopefully not going to fall over from the rocks that we were going through. And then the other thing, me and a couple of my friends, when we were in high school, what we did is we went up to that same hill, and instead of thinking about it, we would just try to get behind some big boulders and use our legs and push them down the mountain. Had one of those boulders hit somebody, it would just flatten them. To be honest with you, it would have probably killed a cow if it was on there too, because we'd watch it tumbling down, and it would take out trees 6 inches in diameter and just keep on going. Being that it was in California, who knows how many times we made sparks that could have started a fire, and amazingly we didn't. But there was other things we did that were just as equally as, really, you think about it, dumb, because we didn't know what we were doing. We found a couple areas where in that same area of the mountains, where there was rocks on top of each other, and they created a little cave, and we'd all climb in there and hide. We were like pretending to be something that we weren't, I guess, maybe playing soldiers. But we'd get under these things, and we'd sit there, and God knows what animals could have been in there at any time, and we didn't have a care. There was one time I was at a friend's house, and for whatever reason, me and him decided that the trees needed to be pruned. So we climbed up there and we started cutting down limbs. Don't know if his parents ever found out about that or not. But there was this one limb that wouldn't break. He cut down and cut down on it, and finally I'm like, you know what, hold on a second. And so I stepped out onto the limb, grabbed hold of it. I was supposed to be holding the limb above it. Didn't get a chance. He cut down some more, and there I go, falling like I was riding a bull down the mountain, right into a pile of leaves below, probably about, I would say, 6 or 7 feet high, maybe even more than that. But there he went, flying down that path from the branch down to the ground, and somehow I didn't get hurt. I just bounced off the leaves on the ground, and thankfully there was plenty of them, and I was just kind of shocked. And my friend came climbing down the tree, and he's sitting there laughing, and I was laughing, and he just didn't know what to say. Well, those were just some short little tidbits that we used to do, and I'm sure we did other things. I mean, there was other places that we would roam to that really we shouldn't have been at. It was just a lot of great fun, though. Have a good night.